Welcome to another episode of How Basketball Saved My Life. I'm your host, The Easy Button.
And your boy, Twan the Don.
And I got a very special guest for you guys today, my man, Brian Vineyard. He's in the house.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you. Thank you guys for having me. I'm looking forward to this evening. Should have a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, let's
Definitely.
do it. Let's do it. So, boom. Last show, actually it was the show before last, I had Dominique Franks, me and Twan, we kicked it big, and on that show we talked about Oklahoma Power a little bit because, you know, he was talking about each one teach one, what was it, what did Team Griffin turn into? What did it come from?
Exactly what it was.
You know, Brian, what was Team Griffin before it was Team Griffin? I said each one teach one.
No,
Athletes first.
Athletes first, and then it became Team Griffin. Once the Griffin family came in and really put a sponsorship behind it.
And so he was talking about, you know, those teams, and I was like, hold on now, I coach for Oklahoma Power. So knowing that I was going to have Brian on the show, you know, I can't leave out Oklahoma Power. Great organization. Oklahoma Power has brought a lot of different kids to the game. It's given a lot of different kids an opportunity to play the game. And, you know, not to mention, they play very high-level basketball. So, Brian, talk to us. How did you even come about, you know, starting Oklahoma Power?
Well, hey, you know, it was kind of a long road. You know, I was a former wrestler back in my day, so I wasn't much into basketball, but my older son started falling in love with basketball at an early age, and he played for a lot of good coaches along the way, which Coach Kellen McCoy was one of those. We had just kind of a local group of kids that were going to middle school together and grade school together, and, you know, as parents, we thought, well, let's get these guys together and start gelling before they get to high school so that they'll be a well-oiled machine by the time they get to high school. And along the way, we
smart thinking there.
Yeah, I mean, we thought, well, that can't hurt anything, and all the families knew each other, and so we actually, one of the OU assistant coaches, Chris Crutchfield, said, hey, his boy Josh was on our team, and he said,
who's now in college,
who's now playing college ball, right? And so he said, how about we've got a couple GAs that want to coach, need some coaching experience, and would like to earn a little bit of money and help these kids. And I said, great. I said, because I'm a firm believer at a certain level, you need to get the dads out of the coaching.
True.
For all of the different reasons that we've seen in basketball over the years.
Right.
You know, nobody needs, you know, the dad's either too hard on his own kid or plays favoritism to his own kid,
right.
And then everybody's upset. So I said, great. And that's when we met Coach McCoy. You know, Coach McCoy took these boys. We were the force then.
How long ago was that? What grade were they in?
Man, they were probably in sixth grade.
It's been that long?
It's been that long. Sixth grade, fifth, sixth grade. And then Coach McCoy was with them for about 2 years. And then he got a great offer to go back to his alma mater at Weber State. So he took that. And
can't knock him for that.
Oh man, who wouldn't want to go back to their alma mater, right? And
right.
Coach, you know,
well, he was the man.
And you go from a GA to a full-time paid assistant at a college
Division I college.
Division I. Not many guys get that chance, you know, and so he took that opportunity, you know, and he left, and so we had Teddy Owens came in at, you know, Coach Crutchfield got Teddy to coach we were still the force. And so what happened is we did that with Teddy for a summer, and Teddy did a great job, and Teddy now coaches for Team Griffin. You know, we still communicate all the time, and, you know, did a great job. And then one day, Coach McCoy calls me and says, hey, Brian, you got a minute? And I said, sure. And he says, I'm coming back to Oklahoma. What do you think? And I said, man, we'd love it when you come back. And he goes, you know, I've got this vision. And I said, tell me what your vision is. And he goes, but I want your help. And I said, well, tell me what your vision is. He said, I want to start, you know, an AAU program. He goes, but I need somebody like you to help do the behind the scenes stuff, the organizing, getting us hotel rooms.
You're really good at that.
Putting, putting all the stuff, the non-coaching stuff together. Would you be interested in doing that? Helping us raise money? And I said, I'll do that for you. I said, you know, before I would, you know, I had no vision of having a program.
Right.
I'd always been around coaching, coached kids, both in basketball and baseball. So I love being around kids and coaching. But Coach McCoy did that, and so he got back. We had about an 8-month window to kind of get things fired up, and by that we, had to start recruiting kids, that wanted to play, get the word out that what our program was going to be about. And from the get-go, I told Coach McCoy the one thing that I said, there's a lot of things that happen in AAU basketball that some people consider a little shady. I said, if you want my help, we have to do everything above board. Everything has got to be open to everybody in our program. If somebody wants to come look at our books are open to you. It's got to be, we're trying to promote all the athletes, not tailor a team for one athlete.
Correct.
I said, we want to play the game the right way. And he's like, that's exactly what I want to be. He goes, I want to be the gold standard for what programs are. And so that's really how we got going. And, Coach McCoy has lots of great contacts. And we actually got, after our first season, we got done. He got us on the Adidas circuit. We were on, the silver circuit, which was kind of the second tier circuit that they had.
How cool is that?
Great competition. Fantastic competition. And so we traveled the country. It's just, Adidas, Nike, and Under Armour all have their circuits. Mm-hmm. He got us to play some of the gold teams, so we got to see how we measured up. And,
wow.
We quickly found out that, with good coaching, like we had with Coach McCoy and his other coaches, and some of our younger teams, like with Coach Mark Clanton, we've got some athletes around here.
Right.
And we were different in the sense that a lot of the higher level programs, you get exceptions to have, 2 kids from, adjoining states. Well, we weren't doing that. We had all Oklahoma kids and most metro area. Most were Norman or Oklahoma City metro area.
So did we ever win the silver bracket?
We didn't win the silver bracket, but we competed really well in a lot of tournaments, won a lot of games, won a lot more games than we lost. And we beat a lot of gold teams. I tell you, kind of the, not to knock, but the creme de la creme was, out in Vegas one summer. We're matched up with the New York Jayhawks. And everybody that knows them, they are a high level elite team and have been for decades.
Right.
And we're sitting out there and Coach McCoy, we're sending out the guys to get the instructions from the referees before the games. He sends my son out there, who's at the time maybe 5'6".
Peyton Vineyard, shout out to you,
Peyton
baby.
Vineyard, yeah, shout out to you, kid. He goes out there, and so they send out their other little guy, which is a guy he's got to guard, and this is after their 9th grade summer or whatnot, and their other little guy's a 6'3" point guard that already had
that's their little guy.
That's their little guy. Already had D1 offers, all over the board. And our coaches are like, this is going to sound funny, but we're going to start off and we're going to press them.
Yes, sir.
And our boys went out there and got it. And we had them down big early, and their coach is upset, calling timeouts, and like, how are these little guys beating us? And we held on and held on and held on and ended up winning that game. It's like, how the world do you compete with that? But I'll tell you, what we've tried to do within our program is get good coaches that are committed to having the kids play basketball the right way.
The right way.
And you do that for us you got a good group right now of
I'm excited
7th grade boys that are going to be 8th graders next year, and you do that to make the kids play the right way. No ball hogs. We're going to share the ball. Everybody's going to be able to
share the sugar, baby.
Everybody,
share the sugar.
Exactly. Hey, we don't have any big guys. Everybody's got to be able to shoot the ball. And that's what Coach McCoy did with this, and he eventually moved on because he got a great offer from Team Griffin. And I told him at the time he came, he goes, I hate this because, you got this going for me. And now I kind of have this. I said, hey, you have to take that. I said, anytime you can hook up with the Griffin family, they are so great and have done so many charitable things in this community and have, they got the backing from Nike and
to Jordan.
Yeah, and Jordan Brand. I said, those guys, I said, that's a different level. I said, you got to do that, So as things changed over time, we just said, we're going to try to get kids and put them in our program and make them the best that they can be. And what we try to tell kids is, if you'll listen to our coaches, and if you want to play college basketball and you'll put in the effort, you'll be able to play college basketball at some level. And here's the beauty of that, right? How much is a 4-year scholarship worth?
It depends. It can
Easily
be
$100,000
anywhere from
a year,
100, 150,
200,000,
depending on where you
Where you at? Yeah.
And so that's our goal, is to help kids, get to that level, that want to be to that level. And
So then, since the inception of Oklahoma Power, how many kids off the top of you, I know you probably don't have it all on top of your brain, how many kids have gone on to play college basketball?
Oh, I don't even have that number on top of my head, but it's got to be 25-ish. And literally,
That's
we're in
phenomenal.
year 5.
Yeah.
I was just about to ask how long has
We're in year
Power been
5.
around?
So,
Okay, that's nice.
and if you go around this state and this region, our program is very well respected.
Absolutely.
The Prep Hoops guys, know us. We've done really well in Prep Hoops events. We've won a lot of Prep Hoops events. We've done really well in the Gasso events. The Gasso folks down in Fort Worth and Dallas area, they have some of the premier live period events. We've done really well. We've won Gasso.
I'm about to say, I know you won Gasso at least 2 times.
We've got Gasso Midwest. We are back-to-back defending champions in the 17U
I should have brought
brackets.
those down here.
Yeah, we should have. And so that's really what we're about. I mean, we've got guys, that have gone D1. We just had another young man, Jawan White. I know you know him very well. Shout out
have
to
him on the show
Jawan.
soon.
Yeah, you train him up, and he played with Peyton at Norman North, and played for Kellen when he was coaching with the Power. And that young man is getting ready to be a Division I player. We had Jalen Crutchfield, Division I player.
Stetson University.
Yeah, a young man named Roy from Colorado is playing D1 ball.
Wow.
We've got D2 players, we've got NAIA players, we've
Junior
got
college.
D3 players, we've got, and we've had a lot of athletes that could have played and chose not to because they either went to play other sports.
Right.
My son, being one that went to choose to play
He
baseball.
played baseball,
And
broke my heart. Made you happy.
I don't know. It kind of broke my heart too. That air conditioning of the basketball
That is
gym
true.
is a lot better than that 95 on the diamond.
That is
sometimes,
true.
for the parents anyway.
Right.
But we've got others that they had good offers from good schools, and they chose to just go to somewhere else because they were real high academic kids. And that's
Josh Robinson being one of
Josh
them.
Robinson, yeah. He was National Merit Scholar.
Merit.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And a heck of a basketball player. Had multiple offers to play college basketball.
6'6" shooter.
Yeah.
He didn't play?
6'6" guy that can stroke it over the defense. You can't close out on that.
And he was.
So did he end up playing somewhere?
4.0 average. He's probably gonna go run somebody's company someday, if not his own.
Oh,
so.
he'll be a CEO one day. You'll look back and go, man, I coached that kid.
But that's the beauty of Oklahoma Power basketball. You have anywhere from, a kid who's in a single family household, or someone who's thriving. But when they all come together, they have one goal, and they play basketball like brothers. And that's one of the things that I've found out about coaching for Oklahoma Power, is that it's a family. It's a family. So with that being the case, why is it that you think some kids choose to go play for I'm not going to say Team Griffin, but like the other programs, as opposed to Oklahoma Power program, where it's about everyone.
Yeah.
That kind of always boggles my mind, because I'm like, listen, it's about everyone. You're going to get more of an opportunity here than you would where it's all these 5-star guys, or whatever the case is.
Well, kids make choices for different reasons. Sometimes they've got them or their parents have a connection to a coach on another team. Maybe the parents played ball together when they were younger. There's lots of reasons for kids choosing different, but for us, it's fit. We try to find kids that fit our mentality and our system. And by that, I mean kids that are willing to sacrifice me for we.
Right.
And you know that because that's the way you coach, and that's why you're part of our program.
It works.
If you're willing to give up yourself for your teammate, you're going to be a better team. I mean, and a great example of that, 2 summers ago, we take this group to Vegas, and we're in the gold platinum bracket,
you're out
highest bracket. And
creme de la creme.
This is, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, all of their top-level teams are at this tournament. The end-of-the-year tournament in Vegas was always the big deal. It was Las Vegas Live is what it was called.
I have to be a part of that one day.
Yeah. It kind of, it's not as big today because they changed some of the recruiting last summer, but as things change, maybe I hope it comes back because that really was a fabulous event. You're sitting there playing games in the Tarkanian Center, and we all know what a legendary Tarkanian was. But we take a group that gets to the Elite 8 in the bracket, and no reason
that in Oklahoma.
No, man, when we go out on the court to warm up in the first game of bracket play, they're laughing at us because we're so small. And these other teams they're loaded with D1 players. And that
turns me up,
that
man.
group, we didn't have a single D1 player on it. But we had a lot of good players, and they played good as a team. And that team, it was probably my proudest moment because they totally overachieved. I haven't seen another Oklahoma team in that tournament get that far in the high bracket, in the platinum elite bracket.
Well, we know when it comes to basketball, it's always about heart. So sounds
yes,
like that
sir.
team must have had a lot of heart.
Who
was coaching that team?
Coach Mark and Coach Rod
MC.
Kindred. Yeah, MC and Rod Kindred.
Coach Kindred.
Coach Rod, shout out to you, baby. He will make them play some defense.
We got to have you, Coach. He's phenomenal at defense.
He will make you play defense. If you don't play defense, he's got a good spot right next to him for you. And so
we go out coaches like that.
We go out there with 9 players that are just selling out their body, playing defense. Undersized, outmatched every game. We just win. Like the first round we win, and so I'm going to scout the game for the coaches of our opponent. And so we have to play the winner of, I think it was a Minnesota team in Houston Hoops. And I'm sitting there going,
name rings bells.
Houston Hoops, that's got a guy named Davion Harmon on it, who is a superstar at OU right now as a freshman. And I'm just sitting there thinking, man, how is my son going to guard that guy? Because
that dude had a man's body.
Yes, a man's body at about 14, And so I was like, Well, they ended up, and they had 2 big 6'9" guys. they had it all. Well, this team knocked them off, just shot the lights out of it. And I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is. And that team, I was so proud of them. Josh Robinson, you mentioned him. Josh Rivers, who's playing ball up in Kansas right now. And then you got Kenny Springs. that dude came in and one game hit 5 threes in a row to push it to overtime.
Yikes!
We lose in the double overtime to the eventual champion. And their coach told us afterwards that. He goes, I'm so glad I didn't go another overtime. He goes, there's no way we win the game. He goes, we were so lucky to get it to overtime against you guys and then to get out of this with a dub. He goes, you should be proud of your boys.
Yeah, he knew.
I was.
They were in trouble. He knew.
And the crazy part is, so after the tournament, I'm reading this write-up in the Las Vegas newspaper saying about what a shock it was this California team wins because they only had 1 4-star and a bunch of 3-stars. I'm sitting there going, man, we got 9 guys, and I don't think anybody has a star by the end.
The underdog story. I love it.
And so it was just a beautiful coming together. My son had been out all summer, and that was his first tournament back. He had 5 facial fractures earlier that summer. So
I remember that summer now.
So what year was this?
It was 2 summers ago,
2018?
So it sounds like the Power has done a lot of good stuff and made a good name for themselves. So is there a reason why y'all don't recruit or get any kids outside of Oklahoma? Have y'all just chose not to, or?
Well, a lot of it is we're really, we've had a couple of kids from outside of Oklahoma, and a lot of it is, we are different in the fact that some of these programs don't require all their kids to be at practice.
Okay.
We require our kids to come to practice. So whether and we've had kids from Okmulgee and Fort Cobb, and we've had kids from McAllister. I mean, in fact, our kid from McAllister is playing right up the road here, college basketball right now. I mean, 5 miles from here. So we have typically tried to provide opportunities for Oklahoma kids.
Okay.
And that's what I think is important, is to provide opportunities for Oklahoma kids. We have
Take care of your own.
Yeah, as you guys know, I mean, if you've ever done a budget for a team just for the summer season, it's around $30,000 a team budget. I mean, and that's not doing anything up big, right? That's just bare bones. And so we've had kids that can afford to pay their share. We've had kids that can't pay a dime and that we've scholarshiped. And so we have a blend of that, and so we try to provide opportunities. And like Coach E can tell you, we have kids from all over, different types of backgrounds, and they mesh and they kind of understand everybody else's plight, which I think is good in life.
Absolutely.
And some of these kids they walk out of that experience and go, I really have it good compared to X, and I should be a lot more appreciative. And so hopefully they appreciate their parents and treat their parents better. And our goal is, even if you choose not to play college basketball, because we've had others play football, is that you take what we taught you, and we stress being a good student, being a, student athlete starts the word student, not athlete. Right?
Athlete, student doesn't sound the same.
And I said, no matter how good you are, your career comes to an end much sooner than you think.
I like that. So that means power isn't just about winning and just getting kids off. You guys actually like building kids' characteristics, the camaraderie and everything like that. So that sounds like that's probably how you guys got a lot of your success, because how you guys run your practice, run your team and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And these parents, what they see is the way our coaches treat the kids, and that they have expectations for the kids in the way that they treat their teammates and the way they play the game. And so we get a lot of really high character. And so there's been some other kids that, you see some of the stuff they do in high school ball, and they'll approach you and want to play, and we're just like,
that's not how we do things.
You may not be a good fit.
I don't think we do it that way. On their high school team, they might be the alpha. But when you go to summer ball, you got everybody is the alpha on their high school team, right? And so you're trying to mesh all these, I call them super egos sometimes, and say, how do we become better as a team to further ourselves?
Okay.
And so we've had great success, with kids doing that. And what they see is that they listen to some of our coaches who tell them, these college coaches know what they're looking for. And so you don't have to score 30 points a game. They're looking for the guy that blocks out correctly. They're looking for the guy that makes the extra pass. They're looking for the guy
who knows how to
that
close
takes
out.
the charge. I mean, we had a kid, and you know him, Ian Bell. Shout out to Ian Bell, too.
Shout out Ian Bell.
That dude was 6 foot tall, probably, and he took more charges. I bet he averaged 2 charges a game. He took them. And he took them from big old boys.
Sacrificed his body a ton.
And in the same vein, if we saw a mismatch, we could run a clear out and give him the ball, and he'd clear out and play point guard.
Yep. Or he'll go post up down
or go
6
post
foot.
up.
Use either hand, 6 foot.
And, and that's what we have. I mean, so we're a little bit different. And, what we kind of found is that the majority of our kids are probably not D1 athletes. They could be, but the majority are not. Like Oklahoma on a good year produces 5 to 10 true D1 athletes. And so, but the problem, as if you've coached, many of the parents think every kid's a D1 athlete.
Right. That's true.
It is so hard. I mean, Coach E, you played at a high level, you know this. It
Tom
is so
played at a very high level too.
So hard to get up to be D1, and
so hard.
I just went, like one of our athletes that I've worked with a lot, Shamari Allen. He's playing.
Great kid.
Playing JUCO ball right now, and I went and watched a lot of those games and watched a lot of them on live stream, and I was shocked at the level of talent at JUCO. And I'm like, oh my goodness. It's amazing. I mean, there are so many good players out there, hence why we try to tell people, hey, use basketball or football or baseball or whatever sport use that as an avenue
Absolutely.
to get your college paid for, so you don't walk out with $100,000 in debt, and you get your education. Because I mean, my belief is this world, it's real hard to succeed without a college education.
Right.
No matter how good you are, it's really hard to succeed.
Well, I'm a testament to that, because I used basketball for basketball. Now, don't get me wrong, could I have made it? Sure, but I didn't, right? I didn't. And so, I transferred from one school to the next, and, I'll say it because I want somebody to learn from my mistake. I'm $100,000 in debt, and that's because I didn't use the game right. I didn't have the proper guidance to, help me make the right decisions, but it's my bed that I made. I got to lay in it. But as you're saying, I started off in junior college, and I didn't know what I wanted to major. I just went in focused on basketball, and after that, I changed my major, and a lot of those credits ended up, you lose them. You got to start over. And so just to your point, if anyone's trying to make it big in basketball, that's great, that's fine and dandy, but have a plan, pick that plan, stick with that plan. That way you don't end up $100,000 in debt. So,
well, no, I think, you hit on something that in those comments that I really want to stress to people too, is that you see this a lot now, more than I've ever seen it before, and it bothers me, is the school hopping. And it's not just at the college level. You see it in high schools, middle schools.
NBA now.
You see it even in like our 7th graders. How many of these kids we see are team hopping?
Oh my gosh.
Because
it's
this team didn't get my kid enough shots. I'm like, at some point we have to teach our kids in life there's going to be ups, downs, and you got to work your way through them.
But it seems like if you watch basketball at a high level, low level, it doesn't show that anymore. It's like basketball is AAU now. That's what it seems like. A lot of people get all their offers from AAU now. So it's like school ball is kind of like, I'll play school ball, but I really can't wait until AAU season comes around. I'm playing with my buddies. I know who's going to be there, all the looks. So it's like now, since I was in high school to now, I feel like that whole era
when we
has
were in
changed.
high school, it was more about high school basketball
loyalty
season,
and basketball season,
because you couldn't really just hop from high school to high school.
No, I agree.
It was done, but it wasn't as prevalent as hopping from AAU to AAU team, and so that's definitely perpetuated the issue.
No, it is, and I think what's transpired over the years is all these schools' athletic budgets have shrunk so much and are under so much financial pressure that I think they're having a hard time retaining and recruiting the level of coaches that you guys had at high school. We've got some great ones here in Oklahoma. I can name several.
Right.
Kellen being one of them.
Shout out to my guy Kellen, baby.
Coach Bird at Midwest City is another phenomenal one that
Coach Kindred, yeah.
Where
is he at?
He's at PC West.
PC West.
He's with Coach Burt. There's some great ones, but it's hard when they have to teach class and all that too, and what they pay them is tough. And so, the kids' AAU season is a premium, but the ones I see hopping, rarely do I see it work out better on the other side. It usually ends up being a situation where
they want back.
They need to have a hard look in the mirror and say, maybe I'm not as good as I think I am, or maybe I'm part of the problem and I need to be part of the solution, right? And it just happens, but kids choose for different reasons. Sometimes you go to play on a shoe circuit, and I can understand that. If you have D1 level athleticism and you can do that, that's great experience for you.
Right.
If you don't, then you're the last guy on that team's bench and you don't play a whole lot, where you could have been the first guy on somebody else's bench.
Well, that's back to what I was saying earlier. Yeah, that's back to what I was saying earlier. Why someone would pass up OK Power, to go to, another circuit team, and be seventh man is kind of beyond me, because, You know, it's all coaches will see what you have. You don't have to play for the Monstars for them to know that you're a great basketball player. You know, you have good coaches, and you know, you said Kellen started the program. It shows because everything you guys started here, he went on and pretty much do at Team Griffin. You know, when we had him on the show, he was saying how he has, you know, some pretty good talent, but he got them all to sacrifice. You know, and so if you're in a situation like that, then cool, it might work out. But how many coaches are Kellen McCoy, you know? And so it just comes back to what you said. You don't want to go be the 15th person on somebody else's bench. You want to be, you know, you want to be 4th, 5th, 6th on a very good team that has sent 25 or more athletes to college.
But a lot of that does come from parents too, though, because as a kid, you don't just get to make that decision, I'm going to switch, and you go switch. You got to at least convince your mother or father to do that for you. Because like when I was in high school, I wanted to switch from my high school. I didn't want to stay at my high school. I thought my high school sucked. So I wanted to go to a different one.
Yeah.
But let me stick it out. Mom made me wait there. And I mean,
I was the opposite of you. Mom didn't know much about basketball. You know, I'm Haitian, you know, so everything we learned was on the fly. And so I wanted to switch from one high school to the other. Mom signed off on it. I wanted to switch from one college to another. You know, at that point, it's on me. Right. But that's what I'm accustomed to because I didn't know any better. And so to your point, you know, it's definitely, the parents do have a say in that, and they do bear some responsibility. But at what point can we get through to them and say, hey, you know, do we have some statistics basically to show players that go from one team to another, you know, have X amount of chances of it being successful?
Depending on who the person is guiding you to the other team. I would say that much. It's happened to some. I've seen some parents, I'm going to take my kid from this organization and put him in another one, and it's worked, and it's helped them. But also, I feel like that parent has been through the route, been through the fire to know, hey, well, I think my kid will play better on this team, or he will get more looks on this team.
Well, Brian, how many kids have left Power and just wanted to come back, and what has been your message to those players?
You know, we usually have one at our high school level, one or two a summer that leave. You know, and it's usually early on, and you know, we follow, and you know, I can't think of any that have gone to teams that have been better than ours.
Right.
You know, what we do is, you know, this kicks off in March every year and culminates in July, and you take, you know, June off for them to play, you know, school ball again in the summer. And you know, we make it a building process. Our teams most years are a work in progress in March and April. But these trophies that we have up here represent July, which is what we always
build towards.
We tell the kids July is where the money is, because that's also where the live recruiting periods, you know, there's two big ones in July typically.
Teams are comfortable now.
And so we're playing together as a team. And, you know, the switching teams is, you know, I think it's more parent-driven than kid-driven. You know, if you're switching because you think that coach is you know, probably better suited to advance your kid's skills, I'm all for that.
Right.
If you're switching because my kid's only getting 6 points a game here and he may get 10 here, well, the reality is if you go watch, they might get more points, but if you look, they're not at their stats, they're not a very efficient player.
What quality?
Which is why we're trying to teach kids to take quality shots, recognize a quality shot versus a shot. You can get a shot anytime, especially in AAU where you don't have shot clocks most of the time. I mean, so that's what we're about. And to your point earlier, we haven't done a lot to go out of our way to go find people. Usually people are finding us, you know.
I think it's better that way.
But that's
you know, because you don't have a responsibility to.
And you know they want to play for you.
Yeah, right. You know, they're coming and they're probably coming with the right mindset, and so.
And you've seen how we do tryouts. You know, we'll have a multitude of coaches there, and everybody gets looks. And you know, a lot of times we'll bring other kids back for a second or third look, and you know, we try to be really objective. And you know, I've heard our coaches even say, you know, that kid didn't make any shots today or make a lot of shots, but his form looked really good. So I know over the long run,
he took high quality shots.
You know, because they get nervous in a tryout or whatnot. And so, but you know, we try to follow what some of these kids are doing in high school ball and their behavior patterns on the court and off the court. And
speaking of behavior patterns, when these college coaches are recruiting OK Power players, what are some of the things that they ask you or the coaches in terms of recruiting? And I stress that because I want players and parents to know, you know, what these recruiters are looking for.
Well, no, that's a great question, Coach, because really the first question is, how are their academics? They've seen them play, right?
Sure.
They wouldn't be asking you about. They wouldn't be asking you about them. Is how's their academics? Second question is, how's their work ethic? Are they coachable? Right? Are they a good teammate?
Pay attention here.
Hey, parents, players, listen. Be coachable. Be a good teammate. And
take care of your business in class.
Take care of your academics. And I don't mean barely take care of them. Take care of them way above barely. I mean, obviously there are different standards for qualifying at different levels of college. But I'll tell you, if you're barely a qualifier and that coach is looking at another kid that's easily a qualifier, hey, they're taking the kid that's easily a qualifier.
Oh my gosh, you just took me back. I remember hearing, you know, there's 1,000 Eve Santellos out there. A coach told me that, and at first, then I'm like, what's he talking about? There's
Your
only
feelings
one
were hurt,
me.
right? Your feelings were hurt.
He said that. He said there's 1,000 Eve Santellos out there. I mean, honestly, I didn't know what that meant at the time. You know, I was hurt, but didn't know why, didn't understand it. As I got older, you know, and I'm getting to college, and I'm playing against high caliber athletes. Again, in junior college, there were all 5 of our starters, me being one of them, were Division I players. We were all getting Division I looks. You know, we all didn't go Division I, but we were all getting Division I letters, so on and so forth. And I get there, and I'm like, this dude can do exactly what I can do. This dude can do better than what I can do. This dude has more bounce than me, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, back to what you were saying, if you're a good shooter, he's a good shooter, you have a 2.0, he has a 3.0, that's the separator, right?
Or simply the coach saying he's very coachable, and they're like, he's a good player, but his attitude may not be the best.
Right, and that kid whose attitude may not be the best may average more points.
Yep.
And so all these things come into play when we're talking about being recruited and why you have to be above board when it comes to taking care of your academics. Like, it's one thing can be the difference maker.
Hey, I'll tell you, you know, I said the same story to one of our players three summers ago. You know, in Oklahoma, we don't have a lot of athletes with a lot of height. You know,
right.
For whatever reason, Oklahoma, we're all short. There's something wrong with our water.
It's something
here.
in the water, baby.
Anyway, so, you know, and I tried to tell this young man who's phenomenally talented, playing college basketball right now, I said, you don't see it in Oklahoma, but there's 10,000 6'6" phenomenal athletes like you walking around this country. And guess what? The recruiting for colleges in America, it goes way beyond this country.
That's right.
I mean, it's worldwide recruiting now.
That's right.
These prep schools in these other countries, they've all got contacts with coaching staffs all over this country.
I mean, we're getting ready to have on Joseph, you know, Yo-Yo that played basketball at OU. We're getting ready to have him on, you know, soon. And he's from, you know, out of the country. And he ended up playing junior college and then at OU. So you're hitting it on the nail right now.
Hey, I'm going to give both you guys some advice with Yo-Yo. I wouldn't arm wrestle that dude either. Have you seen the cannons on that dude?
I've seen him use the cannons.
We've seen
in a box
him.
out.
Oh my
Destroy
God.
a man's whole nose.
Yo-Yo's, we're in an adult league. We play, so Skins League is coming up. He's on our team. And we were in an adult league with Yo-Yo.
Santa Fe.
At Santa Fe, he goes to block a dude's shot. I mean, I don't know how. This dude comes out with a bloody nose. And the dude's like, he's like, my bad, dude, my bad. And I'm just like, how did this even happen? He has muscles in places they shouldn't be.
He's a big dude. He's a big dude. What is he, like?
He's 6'11", 7.
Okay.
I mean, he's huge,
big
7
dude.
feet. You know, and so I don't know how we're going to have to probably get 2 tables when we have them, but
Yeah.
We ain't gonna use the table.
we might. gonna sit on the floor. But yeah, so shoot, they recruit outside of the country now. I'm in Florida, and I'm being told, there's 1,000 of me, And he was probably, now looking back at it, he was probably being nice,
Right.
Probably like 10,000 of me, as you were saying about that one player. So, players, if you're listening, take care of your business. Don't ever once get in your own way thinking you're the only player that does X, Y, Z, because in reality, there are plenty of guys that do what you do, some that do it better. What separates you? Okay, so that's my message on that.
But this is also why we do it, because we're a product of athletes who didn't have the right guidance and didn't have that higher sight, because now that we're older, we understand everything that people has told us, he was telling the truth. But as we were younger, we were like, nah, we didn't believe it because that guidance factor wasn't there. So just listen, people who tell you these things who are older, they're not telling you just to be saying they think they know everything. They either witnessed it or went through it themselves. So
right.
All the material you guys get, please take it in and use it, because it'll benefit you. It really will.
Well, you hit on something too that's kind of prevalent in our society today. Is we have so many broken families, that we have so many young men out there that don't have a steady father figure.
Exactly.
And sometimes that steady father figure is that high school coach,
right,
or that AAU coach.
Right.
And I know sometimes some of the high school coaches, kind of snub their nose at AAU and say don't play defense or whatever. That's wrong. The level of ball at AAU, I'll tell you, is higher than it is at any high school.
So high right
it's
now.
Way
right
higher
now.
It's
so high.
And I'll tell you guys that when these AAU coaches, most of which are doing it for nothing or very little, we do. That's one of the differences in ours. We do pay our coaches, and we tell our parents straight up, we pay our coaches, because I want that coach to be invested in these kids to his fullest extent.
Yeah.
It's not a ton of money. When you put the hours to it, it's not a whole lot of money, but it's better than most programs do.
It's rewarding also, though.
It's better than high school.
Yeah, and so what we, but that's why we choose the coaches the way we do, and I want our coaches to be role models for these young men that don't necessarily always have it.
Right.
I'll tell you, Coach MC, I can't tell you how many kids he goes and picks up regularly every summer and brings them to practice because they got no way to get to practice.
That's dope.
Keith, baby,
that.
Shout out to you.
Shout out to Keith.
He's playing college ball right now, and that kid, he works his tail off. But Coach MC, Coach Rod, Coach Eves, all these guys, I know Coach Kellen's done it. They'll go pick kids up at their house. Mm-hmm. And so when I see some of these people that knock AU ball and say it's only for the greatest of the great, no, it's not. There's levels for everybody, and there's people willing to help those that are less fortunate. Our program does. Most of the programs do. Most of the programs have somebody that helps them.
Right.
And so, that's really what it's about. It's giving back to your community and trying to a lot of times help some of these athletes that may not have that steady guidance, to try to help them and just say, hey, because, sometimes they have guidance, but it's not necessarily, like you said, the right guy.
It's misguided.
When you got that guy in your ear that tells you you're a D1 player and you're not a D1 player, and then you set your mindset as D1 or bust.
Right.
And really talent or size, sometimes it's just merely size-wise. that. If you're under 6 foot tall, your chance of playing D1 basketball are pretty low.
Right.
No matter how athletic you are. It's pretty low.
That's true. Very true.
Look, you just scan those rosters and see how many under 6 foot guys there are.
Right. When Dominique was on the show, Dominique Franks, he said the reason why he chose football over basketball, though he had Division I offers, was because if he was going to be a professional, he knew he was too small to go play professionally in the NBA. So he chose football, rightfully so. He ended up being an NFL player. And so that's a great example of somebody who is honest with himself, to know that, hey, I'm not this caliber of a player, and so, golly, man, you dropping gems right now.
Well, Coach, it was beautiful. And when you said that your coach, you felt kind of hurt when your coach said there's 1,000 coachees out there. Well, the reality is there are. And when these coaches are telling you that, they're not telling you that to demoralize you or to poke at you or just to try to motivate you. They're telling you that to try to be real so you can set your focus on. So when that coach from an NAIA school or a D2 school comes with that offer, sometimes you better take that.
You're looking at it with the proper lens.
Yeah, and when you're looking at it with that proper lens, because these coaches, rightfully so, when they offer a young man or a young lady, there's a timetable. They want an answer, because otherwise they got to move on to the next guy.
Right.
And we've had a couple in our program that we told them to take that offer, and they thought there was going to be a higher level offer. Well, that didn't come. And we told them, and it was a great NAIA.
Did they end up losing their offer?
Lost their offer. Great NAIA program. So what you do is you lose your free education.
You lose your place in line.
Mm-hmm. And, now this particular young man is going to be a great young man, and he's going to go to college, and he's going to do great things. But now he's going to have, student loans.
Right.
And so we try to tell kids, and Coach MC, and I know you've done it, it's just try to be real with the kids and say, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a great D2 player. I mean, for you Oklahoma people that know, and if you watch Southern Nazarene basketball play the last 2 years, I challenge you to find a better backcourt in Division II basketball than what you had there, because both those kids could go and could play D1 basketball right now.
But now how basketball is, you can make it from any level to the league. The way basketball is set up for everyone right now, everyone can make it from any level. I felt like my year, I graduated in 2008, it was more difficult. It was go D1, go to the NBA, that was the route.
Right.
Like now it's like I see some kids who are getting opportunities from a prep school who's not even going to a college or something like that. So,
well, you're right, and I think also it goes back to the AAU, that sometimes gets a bad rap and all that, and some of it's they earned, because some of the stuff that's gone on that we all know about that they've heard is somewhat earned, but the reality is it does provide opportunities from kids that may not otherwise get the looks that they're plenty talented, but it gives them that exposure.
Well, now the opportunities are ridiculous. Like at the state tournament, you may see one or two famous people, but at the Peach Jam, you're going to see almost every superstar NBA player
Right.
there. Mm-hmm. And that goes a long way for me to be an NBA player and the coach be like, hey, I seen you at Peach Jam. What'd you think about this guy? Oh, well, boom. This kid may not know that LeBron James said something about him just from Peach Jam.
Right.
To shake a coach's mind to even want to recruit
Yeah, a
him.
kid could blow up just over one comment by that player,
Yeah, and that's like, and I feel like that's kind of like the difference. That's the AAU route now, and that's why I feel like a lot of high school coaches are bashing AAU, because it's like now they're not getting the credit no more. AAU is getting that credit now. The tournaments are getting that credit because of how much exposure those tournaments are giving out.
But you said a word that I want to focus on is credit. What we need to step back and say, who cares who gets the credit? This is about the kid. This is about the opportunity for the kid. I don't want any credit.
Right.
My deal is I want these kids to have opportunities that some other kids didn't have, or maybe that their parents didn't have, or their grandparents didn't have. Right. It's about opportunity. Credit should mean nothing. If you're doing or coaching, it should be for the right reason. It shouldn't be, to pat yourself on the back.
Right.
It should be because you're vested in helping young men achieve their dreams and to mentor them to be productive men in our society.
Definitely.
I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I've been thinking, I see guys that train players and, they're like always, I train this guy and he's achieving this. I train that guy and he's achieving this. And I don't do that, but I'm thinking like, man, should I do that? Should I post on Facebook? Well, I don't post. I mean, we can talk about it.
Yeah, we'll do it in front of them.
We can talk about it, but I don't go and say this, and this. And because like you say, it's not quite about the credit, but I'm just like, players that have won state, or, like you talked about Jawan, I don't post that I just, a player that I trained is going Division I or stuff like that. So, what is it about that credit that you think it's taken away from the game?
Well, I think sometimes in the rush to get the credit is where some of the under the table stuff has happened that has put a black eye on some of the shoe companies and the AAU world. Because if nobody's trying to take credit, then I think most human beings are going to make a different decision than they do when they compromise their integrity to do something to maybe get the credit for that athlete or to do this. And that's what you hit on something earlier that I thought was so key, is that Kellen got that group, and they were all alpha dogs, all high level players, to give of themselves to win a championship. And that's why Oklahoma teams in the past, there's plenty of Oklahoma teams in the past that were good enough to win Peach Jam. But the reality is previous coaches couldn't do that.
Right.
Because it's kind of like in the movie Hoosiers, if you guys have seen that.
I love Hoosiers.
If you love basketball, you gotta love Hoosiers.
Of course.
Right? And Gene Hackman's, he's saying, I'm breaking the Colts. That's kind of the process, is that sometimes these are all great players. It's like, it's okay if you may average 25 on your high school team, but you're gonna average 12 this summer. And I'm gonna have 10 guys that average 12. And nobody's going to beat us. Like, I've heard Coach Mark talk about when he coached a group called Team June, and he said, I had 8 dogs, and they were just interchangeable. I could put any 8 guys on the floor. A lot of those guys played. He had some that played professional football. They all played college basketball, and so these were, just dogs on both ends. And he said, they all came in thinking that I'm going to go get 30. And he goes, and any one of them could at any night. He said, but they found out we were better when they scored 15 each.
Right.
Because they made that extra pass, or they found out that we were a tougher team. And that's really our philosophy. And I know, Coach, you and I have had that talk so many times. And it's, and honestly, that's how we choose coaches. I talk to coaches that want to coach in our program. What's your philosophy?
Right. Well, you hit it. When they try to go for that credit, that's when their decision-making gets compromised. So, that's something I'm going to have to keep in mind. It's not about the credit. And I do a good job of that, I think, but it's just something that as you start coaching players and they start advancing, you want to keep your own stuff in check. So, that's great. So, one last thing that I want to talk about before we get off this thing. I know we've had you for a while. You've had a long day. If someone wants to create a program, you have Oklahoma Power, what goes into it in terms of creating a program, if someone wants to do that for their area, wherever that might be? Well, that's a great question. And I'll tell you what I did when we started. When I first talked with Kellen, he came back and said he wanted to do this. I said, I'm going to reach out to somebody. There was a program it was, they weren't on a shoe circuit or anything. They're called the Wizards, and they did a great job. And Davis Hudeberg was kind of the guy running the program, kind of administratively. He wasn't coaching. And so, so I went and met with him, and hey, Davis, if you're listening, shout out to you. He took the time. Shout out to David. Yeah, we went out, had coffee, and he kind of gave me budgets and said, we've played in these tournaments and there's not as good an exposure as these. He said, you can go all over the country and spend all the amount of money you want and not get your kids any further than they would have been playing regionally and locally. And I'll tell you that the best things that have happened for Oklahoma locally is Prep Hoops. Prep Hoops does a great job putting on quality events, and then the Gasso events regionally. So couple-hour drive. A couple-hour drive. Well, everything's within 3-hour drive. And so what has transpired is we've got all these high-level events that have D1, D2, NAIA. I know the Prep Hoops guys do a great job of bringing in D2 and NAIA coaches. And ultimately, that's the level that the majority of Oklahoma kids, 90% plus, that are going to play college basketball are going to play at. So they're bringing in the coaches that you can actually play for.
That's smart.
And the other thing that Davis told me is that, after his experience with a lot of college coaches, was that even though college recruiting is national and all this, it is for the high D1s. It's much more regional for D2 and NAIA, because what they have found is over the years, the further a player is away, the less sticky they are. And by that I mean the more likely they are
the
to
transfer.
leave.
Okay.
The first time there's a bump in the road, which
Right.
might be you're not starting for the first time in your career. And you guys have probably all experienced that, right?
Yep.
You know, you've been a starter your whole life, and all of a sudden you go up a level, and every level you go up is a huge step, as you know, right?
Yep.
And then I'm not starting.
I
and
injured myself.
Then they run home to mom, right?
Right.
Or they go somewhere closer to home. And I'll tell you, just in Oklahoma, if you look at the D1 athletes that have signed in the last 10 years here, I bet you half of them have come back and played at a lower level around here.
I need to look those
Because
stats up.
they got a
that's
D1
true.
offer, but they weren't getting the playing time when they got there. And then they've said, well, hey, if I want to play.
So what it sounds like, we just need to look at, by we I mean the athlete, needs to just look at, you know, the situation as opposed to, you know, the clout, you know, the
Who wants you?
who wants you versus,
Who wants you?
you know, do they need me or do they want me?
Who wants you?
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, if you want to play,
Go to
the person
who wants
you
you.
is going to let you play. Now, if they just want to need you, I mean, you're going to still play, but obviously they might have someone else who can still
Do what you
come
do.
into your spot.
Well, look at their roster, right? That's what I tell all of our athletes is look at that roster
That too.
of every coach that is recruiting you and reaching out to you. Look at their roster and ask the hard questions of that coach. Which of these kids is not coming back? Where do you see me fitting in your program? Because, you know, some coaches are going to tell you, oh, you're going to, yeah. I don't know
You
many
come
coaches.
with come with those questions. That coach is going to look at you like, I may not want this player because he's going to be, you know.
Well, no, I think what you do when you ask questions like that, I think what it tells the coaches, you've done your research, and
they can't BS you.
and they can't BS you. And it's like, okay, am I an insurance package in case your point guard goes down?
Right.
You know, versus do I have a shot at coming in and playing right away? Because athletes are athletes; they want to play.
Exactly.
You know, and kind of back to starting the program, I tell people, do what I did. Go talk to one or two or three people that have a program and see what they did. Find out what worked for them and what didn't. And you got to find out what type of program. If you're going to be a shoe company, well, sponsored by a shoe company, well, you better get a professional athlete behind you because that's about the only way you're getting in that realm. I mean, that's kind of what we found out. They said basically no matter how much success you have, unless you have top 200 athletes nationally or you're sponsored by an NBA player, you're not getting on that circuit.
So what's the other? Go ahead.
He really hit that on the head. Please do your research because that's how my first year in college coach got me. He came, sold a dream to me. You're going to start, you're going to play. He came in and he gray shirted me. And I felt like
Gray shirt.
that's what they called it in junior college in California. Basically, you
Red shirt.
take credits under 12 so you don't have full credits. Your clock doesn't start. So he told me I'm going to start, and I got there. He didn't. Made me take under 12 credits on my clock didn't start. So you're saving me. Well, I know I'm a good enough player where I didn't want to get saved. Like, I didn't want to sit here and wait a whole year. So that is the time I had transferred was my first year junior college when I transferred to American River College, which I knew what I was going to get there. I knew what their roster was like. I knew that he was going to have no other choice but to play me right away. Because when I look at junior college, is like I look at it as that's you trying to resell yourself. Like, you don't, like, you got to have yourself kind of.
That's very true.
Because you got to sell yourself again. You
do.
missed your opportunity to go D1 and do what you had to do the first time. So here's your second chance. Well, now you're selling yourself. So I went to a school that wasn't really that well. But I knew that I would, in my film, it would show enough for me to go ahead and get an offer to go higher. I only played 1 year of junior college. I played 1 year football, 1 year basketball, so I could save my clock. And that's what I tried to do before I got injured, just try and
Towards Achilles.
finesse the system a little bit. But
Wow.
Well, I mean, when you guys talked with Coach Kellen a couple of weeks ago, I mean, that's the same story for him, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Junior college.
there's so many great players.
Resell yourself. I
You
like
got
that.
to resell yourself, and then think about it. Some guys continue to improve, and some don't.
definitely.
And what do you guys think the biggest factor is? And some continue to improve, and some not.
Hard work.
Thank you. It's work ethic, right?
But talent was already there.
Hard
talent
work.
was already there because
Yeah.
what he say? The coach called me because he already seen what you can do. So now how is this work ethic?
He ain't gonna get that without the hard work, though.
Talent, though.
Listen.
They want to see the talent first. But go ahead, sir.
We argue about this all the time.
All day long.
Well, no, but I tell you what. I mean, we're sitting here in Norman, Oklahoma, right? I mean, you know who the hardest working kid that I've seen come out of here is?
Who?
You guys know who it is.
Trey
Young, right? I mean, that kid worked so hard all the time on his game, always improving, taking it up a notch.
Which is how he
was
became
good.
so talented.
I've seen that.
I mean, you're not born a great shooter. It's worked. I
Yeah.
mean, that kid's worked hard, and I'm happy for him. He's, achieving his dreams.
Shout out
and
to
he's
Trey.
gonna do
Come on the
great
show.
things. Yeah, he's gonna do great things.
So you were talking about getting on a circuit earlier. You said either have an NBA player behind you or have top 200 athletes. Is there another way to get on?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, that's basically what
Can they buy their way on? Can the
Well,
team?
I think there was a time where that probably did happen, but I'm not sure with everything today.
Aren't you guys on the Adidas circuit?
We were. We chose not to go back on
Okay.
it. You know what we decided, because it wasn't the top circuit, it was the silver circuit. The amount of money that we had to spend to travel to go so many states away, and the number of coaches that were there relative to what we had at Gasso or the Prep Hoops events, and by it's the sheer number of coaches and the coaches that would actually be willing to recruit your players because they're in their region or they fit what they're looking for.
So it sounds like what you're saying is by being on a silver circuit, you were obligated to play in tournaments out of region.
Yeah.
Obligated.
Absolutely.
And the amount of players being recruited versus, silver circuit versus locally was tremendous enough for you to decide not to be on that circuit.
Yeah, and we actually had some advantages that some of the other Silver Circuit teams didn't have, in that we got to play a couple of tournaments in the gyms with the gold teams. So we were right there with where the D1 coaches were. I mean, because the way these circuits work, when you have a secondary like the silver, and I think Nike may have a smaller one too for the others. But the reality is they can put you in a gym out in a suburb of Atlanta that's 45 minutes from the main gym. There's no D1 coach going there unless you got a 6'10".
45 minutes?
But you're very smart how you orchestrate your team. Saying because you like to use your Oklahoma kids right here in your region. So, and like how you saying, like a lot of them only go NAIA D2. So it's very smart how you kind of do that, knowing putting your kids where the coaches are going to recruit them. Because I understand, like if you were recruiting outside, getting kids from different states and stuff like that, travel and do the circuit, because those kids in your mind are probably going to go D1. So let's go ahead and do the national travel,
do the silver circuit.
So it makes sense. So I can see why. Okay, I would take them out. Let's go ahead and do these tournaments around here. Give my kids a better chance of getting recruited. I like how you do that. You're very smart on how you orchestrate your team.
Well, again, I go back to what Davis told me. I listened a lot to what he said in our meeting, and so you get the other piece of it is, if you have a kid that really develops and is a D1 player, they're still going to get enough exposure, and the coaches are going to know who they are. We've got enough connections, and the D1 coaches, you have them at Prep Hoops events too.
That's nice.
I mean, so I've seen them, and like when we were in Vegas, all those bracket games we played in Vegas, the gyms were full of them. We're sitting there, and Jim Boeheim's sitting on the sideline, and
I used to I went to the Vegas tournament a lot.
I mean, you know how big it is.
Yeah, I love the Vegas tournament.
If the players are good enough and they're playing for a good organization, doesn't matter what circuit they're playing in. Sounds like the organization, the coaches will do their job. The kids will do their job. So you can play in a local tournament. You can play in a Gasso a couple hours away. You don't need to fly all over the country, because they're going to see you. Send the film out. If you are who you think you are, they're going to see you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the coaches are really smart. I mean, they keep their jobs at a D1 or a D2 school by knowing how to best utilize their recruiting budgets and to have enough, what I call feelers out in the market, people that they can trust in a certain market and call and say, is that kid for real, or is he maybe not at our level?
Right.
I mean, and I think the thing I'm really proud of is that as our kids have played in college, you have college coaches call their former power coaches and tell them, hey, thanks for making that kid play the right way. I didn't have to spend half his first year teaching him how to play the right way. He knew how to play the right way. He knew, how to switch on defense, and he knew how
it matters.
How to take a charge, when to take a charge. He knew, when he needed to yield to the hot hand, and all those things that we try to do.
Right. With that though, what you saying though about them getting exposed like that, I am starting to because I watch a lot of the highlights, seeing the young kids coming up, and kind of I've noticed that a lot of them that they put on these mixtapes that are the people who make mixtapes and everyone sees it, they're at a lower school. But then that next season, they switch to a high school with some players that's also about to probably go D1. Because there's a lot of no-name kids that I'm starting to see with mixtapes. And then that next season, I see, now they're playing with the kid who was a top 10 state recruit or something like that. So the exposure from these mixtapes, the AAU and stuff, is really great for the kids.
Well, and a lot of times, I think you see a lot of the high school transfers is you have kids play together in the summer, and then they transfer to play to kind of have a super team in high school. Because what happens in a state like Oklahoma, it's all diluted out because you've got kids that are great playing in Tulsa market, Oklahoma City market, Lawton market, all those markets. And so where they might be on 1 or 2 or 3 teams in the summer, you've diluted it out. And so now what you're seeing is a lot of these kids, and we've seen it just recently in the Oklahoma City metro area in the last couple of years.
Have you heard of Team Flight? It's my cousin's little team, Bryce and them.
Yeah.
That's how they were. They started really, really young, came up. Bryce was actually in Norman. He actually moved to that area so he could play at Carl Albert. They won state sophomore year. That's Mason.
Played for Eddie.
Eddie,
Mason.
Yeah. Big guy of mine, Eddie. Yeah, I'm trying to get him on the show,
and
too.
Mason's a great example, right?
Yes.
You talk about
Short
a kid,
guy, too.
Short guy, but can really, really play.
He can go.
And, he wasn't getting no D1 looks, and all of a sudden he got one.
Yeah.
And he's making the most of his opportunity. Because that kid can play. He was a year older than my boy, and I saw him play for years, and that kid can play.
But that was one situation when we talk about moving kids. Bryce Moreland, little cousin of
That's
mine.
his cousin.
It's my little cousin.
I know Bryce real well.
I, as a family member, was very disappointed.
He was devastated. He's underselling it right now.
I was really mad about that move. You just won state your sophomore year. I understand y'all moved, but for me, as being a parent, I probably would have made that sacrifice to make sure my son could stay in that system. The system is doing so much for him right now. Why not keep him here? Freshman year, you lost in state. Sophomore year, you won state. Ain't no telling what would have happened junior and senior year. You took that piece from Carl Albert. You see it was a big piece that they lost. That was a situation that when we talk about parents and making moves, that was a big move that kind of hurted me as being a family member, being someone who played at a high level and understands the situation he was put in the best situation ever. Then you come to Norman High and it's nowhere near the same, and I feel like that hurt him playing later, trying to go on to play basketball, because you were put in a good system, you looked great, the people around you made you look great, you made them look great, then you take all that talent away from you and put you somewhere else, and it kind of felt like it exposed him a little bit. So that's why I felt like Bryce, my cousin, isn't playing right now, because he kind of took himself out of the situation where he had a good situation. So
yeah. I mean, Carl Albert, that was a really good situation at that point in time. They had it really going, and were perennial, state tournament, either champions or right there in the hunt. And so it is. I mean, and sometimes it happens just because it's difficult to keep the commutes up and all of that. I mean, so there's so many different factors, but the kids just you got to do what's best for yourself, but sometimes you need to step back and really think about these decisions, and if you're making the right decisions, because a lot of times you'll see them and it ends up the grass isn't greener on the other side. Well, that's kind of the oldest adage in the book. We've probably all heard our parents say that at one point in time. You're like, I've heard that a million times, but it is. And you guys hit on something earlier, that when you're telling the kids, listen to the people that have been around the block before. They're not just saying it to crash your dream or to hurt your ego. They're telling you from personal experience, whether they had it or they saw one of their friends go through this, and they're trying to keep you from maybe making that same mistake. I mean, because some mistakes you can get past and get over, some you can't.
Right.
And we've seen a lot of kids. I mean,
well, clearly, like he was talking about Bryce, he's not playing college ball right now, and he's a college athlete.
Like, he'll play with us till this day and still go crazy, and I'm like, it's just wasted.
Because that decision was detrimental to his playing. So You've hit it. So, man, well, we've had you already for an hour and 15 minutes.
Good guess, man. I'm glad you brought him on the show.
I told you. So,
Well, no, hey, I appreciate you guys having me. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to following y'all and your podcasts and seeing your guests. You've had a lot of good guests, and so I'm sure you'll have a lot more.
man, we're hoping we can get Trey soon, and I know
that would
you're
be good.
I know you're connected with Buddy, so we got to get Buddy on the show, and we're just looking to see if we can just help people out there, with the knowledge that we have, and if we don't have the knowledge, we're going to get somebody like yourself. We're going to get somebody like, like Dominique. We're going to get somebody like Kellen and Mike Neal, who's going to give them their perspective in unique situations. And so that's what the show is about.
Well, you guys do a great job. I tell you, you give a different perspective than a lot of people give, and I think that is really valuable information for these athletes and parents of athletes that are out there trying to figure out what's best for their child, and both academically and athletically.
And that's definitely a reason why I like it too, because I feel like me and him are both two athletes who could have made it just a tweak of a route that we have already made. So if we can get anybody to watch this show, see some routes or some opportunities that they have or can come upon, and take it from there and change the way that they go about chasing their dreams. So I just know that I have just hindsight back on my situation. I could have done a lot of different routes and put me in a lot of better positions, but because I had to do a lot of this stuff on my own, I walked the path, and if it was nails on that path, I had to go ahead and take it, and I was going to step on it because I didn't know. It was
right.
I'm trying to chase a dream, and I know there's only this.
That's all we knew. Well,
definitely.
I ain't going to open my mouth and say nothing else because I'm going to drag it on. So, we'll end it on that note. Thank you for hanging out with us as we drop gems that we picked up in these gyms. See you again next time.
Appreciate it.
Peace.
Like my life jacket, this ice in my veins is something Titanic. Lockdown defense kept me out the center for detention. Divine intervention passes over to my center. Alleyways are the alley-oops. Some got no looks and passed away when somebody shoot. Back in court duo, but nobody hoops. The wrists follow through in the cuffs, got a loop. Pick a book up, picked up and get booked. It's just you and I, out running suicides. Me, I was out running suicide. Boy, I'm going in, dropping gems that I picked up in these gyms. I can't slack, I've been down and back. I'm just trying to share a few tales from this thing called life. Count my assists, man, I swear that basketball really saved my life. Yeah, I swear it saved my life. Let's go.